Hello, everybody, and welcome to World Talks on TVP World, where every word matters. My name is Don Arleth. In the aftermath of the European elections, a pivot to the far right is visible in many European countries. Now, joining me to unpack this shift and shed some light on the change in political discourse is philosopher, Professor Jan Hartman.
Hello, it's a great pleasure to be here after more than 8 years of absence.
Well, thank you, and I believe this is your first time on TVP World, so hopefully not your last. Now, as a philosopher and commentator on political issues in Poland and European affairs, how do you explain the support for nationalist, often Eurosceptic parties in Europe and their rise?
I think that the answer is very easy. The growth of the right-wing parties or extreme parties is direct proportional to the increasing wave of immigrants coming to Europe. This is what people really fear, especially lower classes, people who have more contact, everyday contacts with immigrants. They just fear, and that's it. Fear is a very strong factor of politics.
Well, do you think that some of the mainstream parties that have been in charge, especially since we saw the big mass migration wave back in 2016, as a result of the Syria war, are largely unresponsive to the voters, to the people, and what they want? Maybe they have a different idea of what is best for the people of Europe.
People who are afraid look for leaders who are radical and have simple answers to the true issues. They have true concerns they feel. So the radical parties like Alternative für Deutschland in Germany just give a direct response to these fears, and they say what people want to hear, that they are going to get rid of immigration when they take power, as simple as it is. I'm very sorry, but there is not too much philosophy in politics.
Mm-hmm. Certainly. Well, the swing to the right, which we observe in the United States as well as Europe, is sometimes seen as a struggle about identity and culture. Some people feel that these two things are under threat. There seems to be an element of a backlash against ultra-liberal attitudes dominating the academia and the ostracism against even more moderate conservative attitudes. Not only across the ocean, I would say in the United States it's maybe a little bit more extreme and pointed than it is here in Europe, but I think the same trends.
I don't know that the United States very much. I just watch TV. It's not a very credible source of information and experience. But, well, there is a polarization all over the world because it's convenient for politicians. In democracy, polarizations produces movement, and those who are not radical, who are moderate, who are in between, don't get too much public. So the situation makes you more radical. This is the rhetoric necessity. You must be simple, univocal, and radical. And, well, as far as the identity problem is concerned, well, we liberals or upper middle class liberal bourgeois people from big cities of Europe or America are very happy with this new identity of being liberal. And people of other identities feel unsafe because from the kindergarten they are forced to become liberals, and they just want to be themselves, simple people who like some things and do not like other things. And the possibilities to express aversion or disdain or whatever against anyone are very, very restricted by so-called political correctness, which we love as liberals because we feel very free We don't feel it as an oppressive measure. But for simple people, which is not a very politically correct expression, simple people, but I don't want to be politically correct here. But for simple people or lower class people, all these restrictions imposed on them in terms of behavior, speech, rhetoric, and so on, are very, very hard to survive. they want. Talking about identity is sometimes too much. I would rather talk about the comfort in everyday behavior and speech behaviors. So people want to be more free and secure in what they really are, and they want to see politicians who speak the same language as they speak and express same attitudes. For instance, Trump. Trump is crazy, but he speaks what he wants, and he speaks a lot of things people really think, but are afraid of expressing it. So that's the mystery. And if you are a strict liberal, traditional bourgeois, so you are very polite. You feel good with being polite, as you are polite, and myself usually I'm polite. So we'll feel okay with that, and many people don't feel okay with that.
Do you think that this level of political correctness is maybe a generational thing?
Yes, to some extent, yes, because young people have a very strong feeling of equality, and they don't want grown-ups to impose the way of speech on them. They want to be very easygoing and spontaneous in their behaviors and way of speaking. So they are against political correctness in terms of linguistic manipulation, as they are against older generations taking a position of authority. So they don't observe authorities, and part of his of this egalitarian attitude is a position against what we call political correctness, which in Poland is, sounds very negative. We don't like this expression. However, in the States, is all right. It's a value of the public life. In Poland, it's different. Because we use this expression in English while speaking Polish.
Right,
yes.
right. Now, the left in Poland, for instance, seems to be getting weaker and weaker in terms of elections. Why do you think that is?
I think that it's also very simple. Most of the leftist agenda, so-called agenda, or just demands of leftist parties, have been taken over by mainstream parties. All parties, mainstream parties, are to some extent leftists. And for instance, public platform, civic platform in Poland, a major party, ruling party, has its own left wing. So they just loot some voters. On the other hand, natural electorate voters of the leftist parties in Poland are slowly dying out. These are older generations who feel a lot of sentiments for communist times. Because when the communism broke down in Poland, about 45% of the population deplored it and supported Communist Party. And these people are old now, and not all of them can go to vote.
Right.
So these are very trivial reasons. And the first reason is that the main leftist party, SLD, or New Left, as they call themselves now, do not have charismatic leaders. They have some nice, fine, young women politicians, but they don't have true leaders. and they are in search of them. But they are also at the same time very bureaucratic structures. So it's very hard to promote, to launch a new personage, new figure. Because if someone gets stronger inside the bureaucratic party structure, it is
put back in their place. Well, there's somewhat of a paradox here as we see this new generation, and they accept a little bit slightly different values, right? We see this more accepting. We see a lot of political correctness being born out of, as well as this new generation, yet this younger generation also seems to be tending to vote for the far right. How can we explain this paradox, if you will?
Before these youngsters from far right are cool, they are arrogant, they look very good, they speak very good. For instance, Manson, this is the leader, Jarosław Manson, the leader of so-called Confederates, the main right-wing extremist party. He is really nice. He's very smart. He can be a leader and the authority or the model personage for a young person in Poland, because he is like a hypostasis of success. And the way these people speak, they are very sure of themselves. They're very proud. Their speech is yes and yes or no and no, like Jesus commanded.
So no ambiguity.
Yes, so
they don't leave anything open to interpretation.
It's very seductive, and they say to people who don't believe in pensions, who don't believe in social services, they tell them that those people who use social services loot their money through the taxes. So there is a fetishism of taxes. And they say to these people, we will cut down the taxes, and you will preserve your money, so we give you your money back. And this is what you deserve. And these young people don't understand how the economy works, how the society works, and that they also will benefit from social services, and they listen to this simple message given by smart people, and they vote for them. So arrogance and elegance, I would say.
Mm-hmm. So now, when we look at the situation that's unfolding in the Middle East, the war in Gaza, we're also seeing tectonic shifts, and not necessarily here in Poland, I would say. I would say we're seeing tectonic shifts in other places, but we see it to some extent here in Poland. So compared with huge anti-Israeli protests in many European countries and the United States on campuses. So the younger generation, what they're learning at school and what they feel and believe is the right thing to stand up for and protest. In Poland, we only see limited reaction to what's going on. Why do you think that is? Do you think that Poles are just somehow different? Do you think it's because of historical context?
I think that there are very few just turbulences in Poland compared to Western countries, together with the US. Some protests in Warsaw and in Krakow, two major universities, involving some hundreds of students, so not very much. Why is that difference? I think that the answer is very simple. In Poland, Hamas maintains much less agents who launch, promote, prepare these protests. There are some agents but connected to the Palestinian authorities who, of course, wait until Israel defeats Hamas, because perhaps they will be able to take over the power in Gaza. So these official Palestinian representatives are not very much interested in launching these protests. So rather the Hamas agents, and there are very few of them in Poland because we have very small Islamic communities, so it's harder to install them. There are quite strong anti-Islamic feelings in Polish society, so it's not a good destination for the people from the Middle East to come to Poland and to settle here. And the sponsors of Hamas are not very much interested in East European countries, who in their minds are more, well, matching and connected to Russia, and they prefer to focus on Western countries, mostly on Germany, France, and Great Britain. So at the end, they have just a couple of guys, well, studying agents installed of students somewhere at the universities, and they attend parties and sell bullshit about Israel to their mates, and they get able to mobilize, well, 100, 200, 300 people. But there is a small party, leftist party, Razem, winning Together, I call them Together with Hamas, who really publicize Hamas one-to-one, the Hamas message. And they are doing a very, very bad job in Poland in these terms.
Well, with that, Professor Jan Hartman, philosopher, thank you very much for joining us. We've run out of time. Appreciate you joining us in the studio. And
it's my pleasure. I'm very proud that Polish TV broadcasts in English that has this project, this channel. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And now we're going to take a quick break, but stay with us here on TVP World for more.